Now to the Middle East, where Iran has reportedly made a new offer to the U.S. when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. Axios writing, quote, Iran gave the U.S. a new proposal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and end the war, with nuclear negotiations postponed for a later stage, according to a U.S. official and two sources with knowledge. Diplomacy is in a stalemate, and the Iranian leadership is divided about what nuclear concessions should be on the table. The president also commenting on when the war could end and on the regime's nuclear threat to Fox News.
Israel would get blown up within minutes from the time they got it. So we can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. So this should have been done by previous presidents. It should have been done for years, 47 years it's been going on, and nobody did anything about it. We've done a great job, and it'll come to an end very soon, and we're going to be very victorious. But they cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Joining us now to discuss this is Fox News contributor and former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman. Dan, we know that the president has said we are not budging any way, shape, or form on nukes. We need to get what we are demanding on nukes, or there will not be a deal. Does Iran not understand that? Because this looks like another example of them saying, well, if we do this, Trump's not budging. So is this yet another delay tactic by Iran?
Yeah, I think what Iran wants to do is to eliminate our leverage. And so if we no longer have the blockade in place, then as far as whatever leverage might remain, it's the $20 billion of frozen Iranian assets. So that would be an incentive potentially to come to a deal. And then the threat of a resumption of military force. That takes us back to February, before we launched our kinetic strikes on Iran. And back then, we know that Iran didn't come to the negotiating table in good faith. And so I think this is what Iran wants to do. The president is meeting today in the Situation Room with his key national security advisors. I'm sure the president will get an update from Director of CIA John Ratcliffe. And likely the United States will consider counter proposals. What we need from Iran is a confidence-building measure. Perhaps if you want us to drop the blockade, give us the roughly 1,000 pounds of highly enriched uranium. That might be a good first step.
So inflation is very high in Iran right now, and it could become catastrophic. But the Iranian government is willing to allow its people to suffer in a way that the U.S. government is not. So when it comes to the economic crunch that they're feeling right now because of this blockade of Iranian ports, do you think that something like that could get the Iranian people or the Iranian leadership to the negotiating table?
There's no evidence right now that any sort of economic pressure, right now at least, is going to induce Iran to negotiate in good faith. At least that's where we stand at the moment. There's absolutely no evidence of any popular uprising. And what I think the Iranian regime wants to do is demonstrate that they are resilient. They're doing that to demonstrate to their proxy terrorists, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and their militias in Iraq, that they continue, in spite of U.S. military strikes, to lead this terrorist state and all of their terrorist groups around the region that are so diabolically focused on destroying Israel and reducing or eliminating altogether U.S. force projection in the region.
Dan, to that point, we've done a masterful job of killing what I'm going to refer to as the old guard. Again, these are all IRGC, but, you know, there are new people stepping up to replace the people that we killed. How tough would it be to go after the new people that are in charge to basically give the Iranian people some measure of confidence that they can take to the streets and ultimately overthrow the people that have been suppressing them and chanting death to America for 47 years?
Well, we'd certainly like to see that, but the challenge that we face is that, sure, you could decapitate this iteration of the regime. It's that Iran's IRGC, there's 100,000, 200,000 of them, and then their besieged militia force. The protesters don't have weapons. And it would be another thing entirely if the Trump administration were to decide to give them weapons. We would need boots on the ground inside Iran to vet anyone to whom we would give weapons. So I think, frankly, that may be a bridge too far. I think changing the regime's behavior has been the Trump administration's goal, at least a goal, if we couldn't do regime change. and it remains to be seen whether that's going to be possible. But I think we need to stand fast with the pressure that we have on Iran, and that means holding to this blockade.
We have to leave it here, but also just noting that Iran's foreign minister is going to be in Russia today as well, so we await news on what transpires there. Dan, thank you so much for joining us, former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman. We appreciate your time.
Thanks.